What is up, everybody? Yay! Welcome to gingerrun Live. Back to our regularly scheduled time. I'm back from tour.
Temporarily.
Because there's still a couple more dates that we have this week where we'll be traveling. But it's so great to be back to the grind. I'm like back to doing gingerrun Live and
On a Monday.
On a Monday. Back to our regularly scheduled time and stuff like that. So tonight, I'm also very excited because our guest is... It's not his first time on gingerrun Live, but it's certainly, like, in my opinion, one of his biggest accomplishments. He just crushed it a couple of weeks ago. So I've been trying to keep up with what's going on in the ultra world and the running world over the last couple of weeks while on tour. And it's been very difficult. So our guest tonight, his accomplishment took place a couple of weeks ago, but it was awesome to follow along while we were on tour. Both Gary and myself were just glued to our phones during this whole thing as it unfolded.
I was texting you.
You were texting, and we were texting back and forth like, oh my God. So tonight on gingerrun Live, we have Guillaume Calmettes. We're going to talk all about Big's Backyard Ultra, which we'll talk about what that event is and why it's special and why it's really cool and unique in tonight's episode. So sit back, relax, grab your beverage of choice, whatever that might be, and let's get started. gingerrun Live begins now. Ginger Runner. Yay! Gus is he's just sitting here staring at me in the eyes. He's like, "Why are you starting the show right now? Why right now?" I don't know why he's been doing this lately. What is up, everybody? Welcome to gingerrun Live, episode number 187. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy Monday nights to spend it with us. Back from Where Dreams Go to Die tour before we leave for another little blip of tour in Vancouver and Victoria. But I'm very excited because we're back to our regularly scheduled time. It's Monday, it's 6 p.m. Pacific, and our guest tonight is a badass. Actually, all of our guests are badasses, but tonight this is a friend of ours from Southern California who just did something that I can't comprehend. It is incredible what Guillaume Calmettes was able to do in Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to talk to him all about Big's Backyard Ultra and running 246 miles over the course of 59 hours. Insane how this race plays out and stuff like that. Before we get into that, of course, gingerrun Live would not happen without the support of our incredible Patreon crew. You know who you are if you're a supporter. And a couple of individuals in particular help make gingerrun Live happen week after week. And that includes Mr. Brian Sands, who I get to meet for the first time in person. And we actually had on the show last week very briefly because he ran his very first marathon on October 8th. We got to chat with him about that. So you can go back and watch last week's episode. So big shout out to Brian Sands and Chris Lee, all the way from Hong Kong. He's doing some incredible things for the trail running community there with a site called Trailblazer and just basically showcasing the trails that are 20, 30 minutes outside of Hong Kong. So Chris, it's great to have you on board to help support the show. And finally, Rick Bjarnason, who's been on the top tier Patreon level for a couple of months now and will be hopefully helping to completely revamp the gingerrunner.com website because that thing is dated. Let's just say that. It's a little dusty. Haven't been able to update it only because I taught myself how to do web design. I created it myself, and it's kind of a piece of garbage. So hopefully Rick is going to be helping us with that. So big shout out to Rick and his ultra running endeavors that he's been partaking in as well, which we'll be following along with more this year. Great. So I don't want to hesitate. I want to just get right into this. But of course,
you guys, I'm Kim. I'm
Hi.
here as always
Yay.
every Monday when we're here on Mondays, and I'll be keeping my eyes in the chat room. So if you guys have questions for our guest, please ask them there. There's already a lot of questions rolling in, and let's just get this first thing cleared up because there's been a lot of talk about this. Yes, Ethan got a haircut, you guys.
What happens after 3.5 weeks of living out of a suitcase? You feel dirty. It doesn't matter how many showers you take. You just feel gross and dirty. So this weekend's priority after this movie tour, which was fantastic. If you watched last week's episode, you saw me talk a bit about it. I did a bit of a tour recap, but I was still exhausted. I hadn't slept much in days, weeks. So tonight I feel like I've gotten sleep over the last few days, which is amazing. I've also been able to take a bit of a break from work and just veg. We watched Stranger Things. We caught up on everything. I was able to just eat regular meals. It was fantastic. So I got a bit of my life back. And that included a haircut. So thank you, everyone, for noticing. Some of them were cut. Some of them were pulled. But for the most part, I've showered, I've slept, I've eaten, and I've got a haircut. I feel great.
You're a new boy.
I'm a new boy. Kim is, of course, in the chat room. So throughout the show, if you have questions, this is what's great about.
There's already like a ton of questions rolling in.
Our guest tonight, because I just want to get to him because he's awesome. He's a friend of ours. We've known him for a number of years now, and he is actually featured in my Amongst the Evergreens video. And every time I watch that, it was my first 100-miler. Well, my only 100-miler. He's in that because Kim reached out to individuals who are close to us in the running community and friends and stuff like that to ask for little videos that would help inspire me while I was running 100 miles. Guillaume's video still makes me laugh and makes me smile and makes me cry. He managed to encompass all of it in a very short video message. So if you want to see that, you can watch Amongst the Evergreens. It's in there. But Guillaume has just been like a part of our life, even though we haven't seen each other in person for a long time. It's awesome to have him on the show. So let's just introduce him. Mr. Guillaume Calmettes.
Yay! Hey guys.
How are you, man?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Thank you.
So first of all, you've accomplished many things. You've won incredibly difficult 100-mile races, but this most recent accomplishment, in my opinion, I've never run it. It's something I've always wanted to run. It's put on by the same gentleman who puts on the Barkley Lazarus Lake. But this one is super unique, and this is his only event that I know of that I'm like, that's the one I want to do. Can you explain a little bit about this event and what helps make it unique and stand out?
Of course. So the event is called Big Dawg Backyard Ultra. And of course, the race director is Lazarus Lake, or Gary Cantrell, by his real name. It's a race in his own town, basically at his home and in his backyard. And this is very simple. The principle is very simple. You have a loop, 4.166666667 miles, and I'll explain why this distance. And you have to run this distance or this loop in less than an hour. And every hour you have a new start. Meaning that if you run the loop in 40 minutes, you have 20 minutes to rest, change your clothes, eat, do whatever you need to get prepared for the next loop. And every hour you have a new start. And basically the race doesn't have any end. The race ends when there is only one runner able to complete the loop in less than an hour. So it's pretty cool. I mean, you don't have to be fast. You just have to run long, I guess. And it's lovely, lovely.
That's what I love about this event, is that it caters to mental willpower more than it does. I mean, of course, you have to be physically able to run a very long distance because now the bar has been set astronomically high. But it certainly caters to people who can mentally push through hours and hours and hours of running. I love the idea of just running a 4.1666667 mile loop once an hour, and you start every hour fresh, do the same loop again. Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
I was going to say, we have Andy Pearson in the chat room right now, who also ran this year and then I believe helped jump in and help for Guillaume.
We had Andy on the show
last year.
He's the reason why I run the race. He's the reason why I run it.
Andy, shout out to you. We had Andy on last year. You can go back and watch that episode. And that's I like when I learned about the race, I think 2 years ago. And when I heard that a friend of mine was running it, I was like, I got to get Andy on. And so now this is great because Andy and Guillaume are friends. Andy was there running it. He failed miserably and then stepped into the role of supporting Guillaume, which I thought was fantastic. So Guillaume, what drew you to this race? What is it about it that you were really excited about?
So the first time I heard about the race was actually by Andy. It was maybe 3 or 4 years ago on a run. He told me about this loop race, and he thought it was fantastic. And I was, intrigued by it, but I didn't do any more research. Then Andy last year ran the race and wrote a fantastic race report. And I invite everybody to read it. And in the title of this race report, I think there was nightmare and no end in the same sentence. And I was like, that could be interesting. And that was also a time where I was looking for something else than just 100 miles. And that was a perfect occasion to test my limit a bit further. So when registration opened, Andy sent me the link, and I was like, okay, let's go. And it was great.
That's awesome. And just so Andy knows, when I said that he failed miserably, you didn't, Andy. I don't want him to think, I don't want people to be like, oh my God, so rude.
The guy ran more than 100 miles.
Right. like, how could you not run more than this, Andy? Come on. So this event like completely intrigues me as someone who thought loop-based things would be terrible. And then my first loop-based race, I loved. I ended up totally loving it. Guillaume, was this your first loop-based race? And did it meet your expectations, or did it get monotonous or boring?
So it definitely met my expectations. And it was, I mean, I did hurt. So it was also loop-based. I guess that counts. Yep. But yeah, I mean, loop-based or not loop-based, I guess, is the same thing. I mean, for me, I mean, I usually don't get bored easily when I run. So loop or not, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Yeah. There are some additional unique things about this race that Lazarus does. I like, can you kind of cover some of these little intricacies about the race that help make it different than just a regular loop?
So first of all, the race doesn't actually start on race day. I would say it starts the day before, because you have to do your grocery shopping, because there is no station, right?
Right.
So I mean, so this year, Andy, Rob, and Katie, also from SoCal, they all came. So we're like a group of SoCal going there. So we went to Kroger to do grocery shopping, and that's where I realized that yes, this race is different, because you don't really know for how long you're going to run. So you don't really know what you will need. So you basically buy everything. And it was funny to see the different strategies in the different carts we had. Andy had a lot of junk food. I had a lot of cheese, and I had black licorice. So yes, the race starts before, and because you don't know what you will need, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, that's where I started to worry. I was like, oh, yes, that's really different. I mean, it's hard to get prepared for something like that, because I said you don't know for how long you're going to be out there, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, you don't know. I mean, you don't know when it's going to end, because one, you don't know where your mind might fail you. So you could get to 100 miles, you could get to 10 miles. You don't know where it's going to end for you, because it really is just about how many loops can you do, and it doesn't end until there's one person standing. So, like, theoretically, this could have gone on for days and days and days. It did, like weeks and weeks, you know. So you don't really know how much food to buy and that sort of thing. How do you approach a race like that? Like, how do you wrap your brain around, I don't know when the ending is going to be?
I mean, I think it's actually easier mentally. I mean, this race is very easy mentally, because you only know that you will have only one more loop to run, right? So, and 4 miles in less than an hour is very manageable mentally. So it's easy to say, yes, I have at least one more loop. And I know then when people, I mean, see the big picture and they're like, wow, you run more than 240 miles. I mean, when I entered the race, I didn't know that, right? So I couldn't be overwhelmed by that distance or that time. The only thing I knew was I have at least one loop and 4 miles to run. So that's very easy. And just the distance adds up. I mean, I didn't see, I mean, time flew by. I didn't see the distance increasing or the time flew by. I mean, so it's actually very easy mentally. So you just have to find, I mean, your own strategy to the race. And when I went to the race, Andy told me, you know, what's key is consistency. So you don't want to run too fast, because then at the end you will get tired, I guess. Even if you have plenty of time of rest, it will wear on your muscle. You don't want to go too slow, not to be stressed in the loop transition. So you have to find your own strategy. And consistency for this race, obviously, is key.
I love it. That's the same advice he gave me before my loop-based race, and that led to great success for me. I managed a 3rd place finish there. In this case, I love that idea of being consistent here. What did you end? I mean, I know the results because you posted your Strava, which is insane. Probably the largest Strava file I've ever looked at. But what was your strategy then? So did you want to do fast loops? Did you want to do easy loops, or did you want to kind of mix it up and try to get sleep in between there at any point in time?
So I was shooting for easy loops. So what I did was basically I was targeting 50 minutes loop on the trail. And of course, during the night, after 12 hours, so each 50 mile, you switch on the road, you switch from the road and on the trail. And so for the night loop, because it's road, it goes a bit faster. So I was shooting for like 45 minutes. But the trail loop, I was actually in the middle of the pack at the beginning with 52 minutes. I was walking a lot, all the uphills, and the last quarter of a mile, I was walking everything. So each time I was arriving in camp, walking, and a lot of people were in front of me. And I mean, I was not worried about that. So my strategy was just, try to find a good compromise between running easy and at the same time having enough time to take care of myself. And for me, it was 10 to 8 minutes. I didn't see the point of running faster to have more time, because then I was worried to cool down a bit. So I wanted this sweet spot. I guess, I mean, it worked for me. I guess it's very personal, but for me, that was it.
We have a ton of live questions, so for those of you who are asking, keep them coming. But Kim, let's get to a couple here.
Yeah, a question from Amber. Guillaume, what was one of your biggest concerns before starting this race?
So my biggest concern, I guess, is because of my friend who came with me. So I only brought a mattress, a camping mattress. And I told them, I just have a mattress, and each loop I'll try to sleep and everything. And they was like, oh, dude, you need a chair. You need a chair. And I didn't have a chair.
Oh,
so
God.
I was playing it like very relaxed. I was like, yes, it's going to be okay. But the more loops I was seeing everybody on their chair, I was like, oh, will my mattress strategy will work or not? And I mean, after 100 miles, they actually brought me a chair, but that was maybe my biggest concern before the race. But that was because of them. I mean, because of them.
Literally the debate between bringing a chair or using your camping mattress. That's funny. Is it because the chair is just easier to get in and out of, and if you needed to sleep, you could just sleep in that?
Well, first of all, because we flew in, I didn't really have a space to bring a chair in the plane.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I didn't check in a bag or anything. But I mean, I don't know. It's personal preference, I guess. I was happy with my mattress until it started to get into my head. But
I love it. I'm just like, did I do the right thing? Is the mattress the right choice?
You have as soon as you arrive, you see all the setup of everybody, and you start to have plenty of questions. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah. Let's get to more questions.
Yeah, a question from Scout. Did you go into the backyard race with a minimum mileage you were willing to walk away with, or was being the last runner standing always your goal?
My goal was always to go, I mean, as long as I could. Of course, I mean, I haven't run more than, I didn't run more than 105 miles before, right? That was just UTMB 6 weeks prior to that. So I really didn't know. I know with my friend, I was joking, oh, we probably go for like 300 miles or something. But in the back of your head, you say, there is no way, I go that long. But so I didn't have a minimum mileage I wanted, because I guess the risk is that as soon as you hit that mileage, you may be tempted to just give up then, because you reach your goal. So not having a goal, just having a goal to try to go, as long as you can, what was my strategy there.
So a couple questions. How many people started? I know that there's a limit to how many people can start, and they've already started to do a new sort of registration system for this, only because it's been so popular. But I'm just curious how many people started, and how soon before it really got whittled down to like 10 individuals.
So I think originally the race was for 60 people, and I think Laz chooses 60 people because on the registration page, he explicitly say that it's to pay his rent taxes or house property taxes. So I guess that's the number he can handle in his backyard, and also to pay his property taxes, which is pretty funny. So I think on the 60 people registered, 58 started. And by the time we reached the night, I know that last year there were around 10. This year we were actually more like 20 at the night. But as soon as we hit back the second time the trail, so after 24 hours, because in 24 hours you run a perfect 100 miles with this 4.166666 mile loop. We were probably, I would say 10. So after 24 hours, and that's where, I mean, you on the trail, it becomes more technical than the 12 hours you run on the road, of course. And that's where people starting to drop a lot.
Was it, I mean, you get past that 105-mile mark, which you mentioned is your UTMB. It's like your furthest point, which you did earlier this year, which is crazy. But you get to 105 miles. At that point, you're in uncharted territory for yourself, for your body, for your mind. Was there ever a moment of doubt going into those miles of like, oh man, I don't know how long I can go? Or was it exhilarating because your body was giving you what you needed?
Yeah, I mean, it was very fun to see that my body was actually, and I mean, was reacting very well to the increased mileage. So yeah, it was great actually. I mean, I think I got a low point between maybe mile 80 because it was a road, and I mean, I found it very boring somehow. Even if it was easier, I mean, I only wished, I was like, oh, I want to go on the trail. I want to go on the trail. And I remember that even at the end, so after 50, I mean, when the race started, my only concern was, oh, we're going to go back on the road. And I don't want that. I want to be on the trail again. So yeah, I guess my low point was between mile 80 and 120, I guess, where I had some negative thoughts. I mean, I had some hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, everything. And I was complaining to, Andy, Katie, and Rob each time I did station. But then I started to have fun again on the trail, and everything disappeared. I mean, my body felt great. Even if I rolled my ankle, it was swollen and everything, I didn't feel the pain because I was having fun, and it was great. It was great.
That's crazy.
I love your attitude.
I love that. just the idea of like, oh, hip pain, leg pain, foot pain, like everything is hurting, but then all of a sudden there's some sort of switch of like, I'm having fun, which also is one of my favorite Guillaume quotes. I am having so much fun, which is from her.
That
was from Gorge. You're right. Yeah. Which is also on video, but the fact that you were able to turn it into all positives and stuff like that. And I'm going to get to the competition between you and Harvey Lewis here in just a second, which I can't wait to hear more about. Just reading through Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that as it was happening in real time was hilarious. It sounds like there was a pretty cool relationship. But let's get to a couple more live questions from those of you who are watching now.
Yeah. Question from Brian Sands. Guillaume, how did you keep your focus on each loop as the hours and days passed?
So it was actually very easy to do that because like after 5 loops, the loop by hand, right? Every rocks, every tree. So the way I was, entering a loop was I was like, okay, I know in the few hundred yards, I have this tree and I have to be there at that precise time. And so each time I was hitting a landmark, I knew if I was ahead or behind the time I wanted to do. So I was just focused on the moment, I guess. And I was just thinking about the loop each time. And somehow, so I didn't have any music. I didn't hear any music for the 59 hours. I don't know. The time flew by. So I guess just being focused on the loop and what you do and what you have to do to get the time you want is enough to bring you very far.
In my loop-based race, I had that same thing happen where time just shifts forward all of a sudden by hours and hours. You kind of forget things, which is kind of neat, I guess, about the loop-based thing.
Yeah, I think for us, well, for myself, it was like the middle 6 hours of the race just kind of disappear. So I imagine for something like that, how many hours were you out there, and that including the final loop that you had to complete in order to finish it?
58, 52. 58 hours and
52 minutes. Yeah. It's insane to think of just constant movement. But I also want to mention that 58 hours and 50 minutes is similar to the 60-hour cutoff of a much bigger race that you have now essentially been granted entry into. Is that correct? The Barkley, are you looking into potentially participating?
Yes, so Laz has different races, right? He has also the Barkley 4 Classic, and it's notorious that if you win the Barkley 4 Classic, you have a guaranteed entry to the Barkley Marathon, and this is exactly the same for Big Dog Backyard Ultra. So you do have a guaranteed entry. It still means that you have to apply, you have to follow the normal process, the application process, but you do have a guaranteed entry if you wish to apply.
And I'm assuming you are applying.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Like you basically proved, wow, he can move for almost 60 hours and seemed to finish in fairly decent spirits. So I want to start talking about that. So this race came down to you and another individual, Harvey Lewis, and I can't imagine the mental games that were going back and forth between you guys. When did it start? Essentially, when was it just down to you two, and how many hours did that last? And how were you feeling? How was he feeling? What were the games going back between you two?
Yeah, so I think we were, so the 3 last runners were Harvey Lewis, Johan Steen, who was who had the record on that race with more than 200 miles, and myself. And I think so. We were down to 2 people on the beginning of the second night, because it was 36, maybe 38 or 39 hours, right, where Johan decided to quit, unfortunately. And I was actually in shock, because when he came back to his loop, his night loop, and maybe 52 minutes or something, he came directly to me and he told me, "I'm very sorry, I will have to quit because I'm very, very tired." And for me, it was a shock, because Johan was there, and we were all at that level, right? Johan was, running every loop in 42 minutes.
Yeah.
He was very, very strong. So I was in shock. I couldn't comprehend why he was going to quit. And now I started to realize, wow, we are only 2, and Johan is gone. So it's only Harvey and I. So maybe I can pull this off. So it was actually kind of a boost at the same time, even if I was very sad that Johan quit. Because one thing you have to know with this race is that, of course, you want to be the last runner, right, in the race. You want to be the last man standing. But at the same time, you know that if other people drop, then the race stops. So you don't know how far you can go if everybody stops, right? So I wanted, more people, a maximum of people, so we can push each other, right? And at every interloop, we were encouraging each other. We were cheering on us. On the few out and back section, we were cheering on us. Each other on us. I don't know if we say that, but you get the picture. Yeah. So we got only Harvey and I after 38 or 39 hours. And Harvey is a great guy. Loves the guy. Every time in between the loops, we were kind of trash talking. Very friendly and everything.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome. So yeah, after and so it lasted for more than 20 hours, I guess, where we only 2 people.
When it came down to you, Harvey, and Johan, in my mind, there's no 3 guys that are out there that are more seasoned. Johan has an incredible resume, so I just knew that it was going to go for a long time. And I think people were talking like, "Yep, record's going to fall this year," and it did. Big time. The previous record was, Guillaume?
204.
204 miles. So
that's so crazy.
You pretty much crushed it. When you guys,
yes and no.
You and Harvey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was you and Harvey at that point. Did you high five each other? Like, congratulations, we're going past the record.
Yes, I think, yeah. When we broke the record, we were very happy on that loop. So we were sure that we were both going to finish. Because we are still in great shape, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was exhilarating to go past this point. But I have to say that when Johan and Jeremy did 204 miles,
2 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago, I think, 2014, there was no winner. The race only ended because Johan had to catch a flight and he had to leave the race. And Jeremy decided also that he would stop running. So that year, the race could have gone longer. So we have to put that in perspective with what we did this year. In 2014, they were also going to run more than actually what they did.
That's amazing. I remember that story. Andy told us that story last year. We heard that story through various channels. But just to know that the guys that were setting the record at the time agreed, because that one, like Johan, had to catch the flight.
He had to.
Yeah.
So I love it. I think it's fantastic.
So there was no winner in 2014.
There was no winner in 2014, no winner, right? Yeah. So are you, ever considering going back to this event? Yes. Okay, awesome. And 2, do you think the record can be broken again?
Of course. You just need people willing to run, very long. But yes, everybody can break the record for sure, as long as you don't have too much problem with sleep deprivation and you take care of yourself between each loop, meaning that you do some stretching, you eat a lot, because basically this race is a eating contest for sure.
Yeah.
You eat a lot of cheese, especially. Yeah, I mean, if you take care of yourself, I mean, anybody can really run a lot because you don't have to run fast. You just have to be consistent. So yeah, I mean, of course, the record will be broken next year.
And Anne in the chat room saying, awesome fact about Johan, that he stayed and spectated the entire rest of the race,
yeah,
not even leaving to shower or sleep. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And that's a testament to the community, again, which is really what makes this.
I have to say, I mean, Johan
so
and a lot of other competitors stayed and cheered on us. I mean, John Fegerezi was there. He stayed until the end. Greg Salvensen came back too to cheer on us. I mean, a lot of people, even people dropping after 20 miles, stayed there. I mean, they had their camp and they stayed. It was really like a community in that backyard.
Yeah.
Even when we got hammered by rain and everything, they stayed. I mean, it was amazing.
I want to make sure that we get to some of these live questions. You guys are continuing to bring them in, which is awesome. So, Kim, what do we got?
Yeah, Guillaume, you just mentioned it was kind of like an eating contest. TT in the chat room has asked, what did you eat and did you have a nutrition plan?
So my nutrition plan compared to a normal 100 miler
was
to eat a lot of solid food between loops, so in the interloop time, and during the loop to eat just one gel or one Larabar. I mean, I usually went with a cashew Larabar or gels or almond bar during the loop, and between the loop it was like cheese, tortilla, peanut butter, some chips. Then Andy, Katie, they brought me French fries, French toast, a lot of soup. I mean, basically, I didn't really have a eating plan beyond that. I just wanted to eat a lot, and I thought that eating a lot would be key also for this race because you will be out there for a long time, and when you're sleep deprived too, I mean, you need to eat more, I guess. What I did was I ran out of food. So thank you, Andy. Andy dropped after 105 miles, and I think I ate his stash of gel and soups and everything. So thank you, Andy, for dropping that quickly. So yeah, I mean, basically eat whatever you're comfortable with, and I'm very lucky that my stomach seemed to handle everything. I mean, it's rock solid. So I could eat anything, but I ate a lot for sure.
Is Andy there? Are you keeping him in the side room? Is he just over there?
Andy?
Yeah, is he in your house?
No.
Okay. Part of me is like, Andy's just hiding. He's hiding. Like, oh, hey, just was in the other room. That's like the nutrition. I can't. That's one of those things. I'm like, yeah, it's an eating contest, and you really just have to eat. Did you sleep at all, Guillaume?
So I tried, of course, but in the 10 minutes you have each time between loops, I mean, it's very hard because you're in camp, right? So you have like all the other runners around talking with their crew and everything. So it's hard to focus on just, I mean, sleeping. You want to hear what they are saying and everything and consciously. So I, of course, closed my eyes, try to sleep. I don't think I got any minutes of sleep, but I guess just, you know, closing your eyes helps a bit.
Resting, yeah. It's one of those things it's one of the discussions that happens around the Barkley every year, at least that we've been there, is when do they sleep? You know, when do you get that little bit of sleep that's going to help you kind of push on? So it's great to hear that you didn't even need it. Guillaume's like,
yeah,
58 hours, 50 minutes, I'm good.
That's what I'm actually very excited for Barkley, because now I know that running 59 hours without sleep is actually possible for me. So I'm like, hey, why not just go for it and not try to sleep between any loops? So I'm actually, I mean, it's a very big confidence builder just on that aspect.
Yeah, good luck with that. All right, let's get to a couple more live questions. Kim's got a ton.
Yeah, there's a question from Ryan Flint in the chat room. Guillaume, how consistent were you with all of your laps, and did all of your lap times fall in line with your plan?
I think I was pretty consistent for the trail loops. My times range was between, I guess, 48 to 53 or something, and it depends. I mean, how long I stop to pee between in the loop or something like that. I guess you have a fluctuation. On the road, it must have been between 38 and 47 or something. So I was pretty consistent. I mean, with a standard deviation of 2 or 3 minutes, of course.
Get another one there, babe.
Sure. Yeah. Nathaniel in the chat room asked Guillaume, 246 miles is a lot for an almost 3-day period. Do you worry about wear and tear or injury concerns from that much mileage?
I mean, I would say yes. I mean, of course, you start to have like some pain, as I said, after like 100 miles. I mean, I had the hip painful, the knees, the ankle. But then, I mean, I got a switch and I didn't felt any pain, even if when the race stopped, when people told me, hey, you won, the race is over. Then I sat down on the chair and then everything started to size up and everything started to, to be in pain. So maybe I was like rejecting the pain. So of course, I mean, you have some damages in your legs. It's undeniable. So I guess on the long term, that might be a problem after 300 or something, for sure.
Go ahead, Kim.
And a really important question from Amber. What was your post-race meal?
So a very important question, yes. So we actually went to a steakhouse and I got a filet mignon with homemade mashed potatoes and a salad.
I think, was the steakhouse Outback?
Yes.
Yeah. Was that your first time at an Outback?
Yes.
I love it. I think when I saw that online, I was like, of course this is Guillaume's first time to an Outback Steakhouse. I hope you got the bloomin' onion. Did you get the bloomin' onion?
Yes, actually, Rob ordered it. Yeah. And I was like, what's that? And they told me, oh, that's an onion. I was like, oh, that's nice. And it was actually very good. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you two questions. What was? Let's start with this one. What was the most difficult part about it for you? Because I know that there's probably a whole plethora of things that, well, yeah, this was a problem, this was a tough thing. But what do you think was the most difficult part for you to do, especially this loop-based race that just went on for days?
I mean, it's very. I mean, I don't remember a very difficult part because, as I said, I was so focused on the loop thing that each time it was easy to handle mentally. I guess the hardest part was I was starting to worry at the end about having dry clothes because we got hit pretty hard by rain and all my clothes were actually dry or anything. So actually Johan gave me an underwear because I ran out of dry clothes. So he actually said, hey, I have an underwear for you. And so he gave me an underwear, which was nice. So yeah, I guess one of the most difficult parts was when I started to worry about like, oh, what if this race go for like 2 more days and I don't have any more like dry socks or stuff like that. But I mean, apart that, I don't know. It went pretty well. I mean, honestly, I got a great race, right? I guess I had a very good day. So it's hard to find a very specific points of something that didn't go well.
And what do you think was the best part about it for you? What was the one thing that you're going to take away and go, that was awesome?
The support of my friends and the full community. I mean, honestly, this race is a team event for sure. Each time I was coming back to camp, Katie, Andy, Rob, they were there. Johan was there. They just like sit down. They gave me food. They're like, okay, what do you want? I mean, they were amazing. And honestly, for this race, if you have a good crew, that's already more than 50% of the work done. Because if you only have to worry about your running, and running is what makes you happy, then you don't have to worry anything, right? So I guess, yes, one of the strong points I come back from with this race was the community and the team, the crew.
Awesome. And I just want to say that we actually have a viewer, John Kelly, who is one of the 15 finishers of the Barkley Marathons, is in the chat room and has dropped a question for you, Guillaume. And I think this is a fantastic question, seeing as John has experienced the Barkley 3 times, one of which was a finish, and we got to hang out with him in Washington, D.C. during the screening and stuff like that. I love that he's joining us, and he's got a great question. Kim?
Yeah, a question from John, Guillaume. How many more loops do you think you could have done, and what would have been your limiting factor? Sleep, mental fatigue, physical fatigue, or something else?
So that's a great question. Unfortunately, that's a question I cannot answer because I had to stop. I know I had at least 1 more loop because actually when I finished, once they told me, oh, you won, in my head, I still had 1 more loop to run. Because I didn't know, I mean, I realized I didn't understand the rule when I started the race. And I thought I had to run. I had to start a loop alone, and in fact, you have to be able to finish the loop in time. And if someone else doesn't finish in time and you're the only one to have finished the loop, you don't have to start again. So in my head, I was already prepared to run one more loop. So I know I could have run at least one more loop. And one more loop would have been 60 hours. So on the trail, and then you do have the road, and the road is notoriously easier because it's faster and you don't have like the technicality of the trail. So you have only 12 hours on that. So I could have probably done that. And then if Harvey would have reached the road too, I guess everything would have been decided when we went back to the trail. So probably miles 305, 310. So I guess that's my estimate of how long it would have gone.
So ridiculous. It's amazing.
Sorry, I don't know if you have already asked this or if it's been asked, but were you aware on that last loop that Harvey had dropped at that point? Like, did you know you're out there by yourself?
No, I didn't know. So the way it works is that before entering the trail, you actually do a short quarter of a mile out and back on the road. So when I passed, I knew for this out and back, it took me 4 minutes. And then I entered the trail, and then I heard some people cheering. And so I look at my watch, and I was like, okay, so now Harvey is going through camp. And it was maybe 6 minutes. I was like, wow, it's going to be hard for him to finish on time. But I mean, the loop before, he did the same, and it finished in 57 minutes. So in my head, it was like, yeah, Harvey is still in the loop. And so when I arrived at the end of the loop, people were like all grouped at the finish area, and they were like screaming like crazy. And I was like, oh, what's going on? I thought they were just happy to see me again, more happy than usual, which was funny. I was like, wow, that's great. And so I came and I passed the line, and I started to go back to my chair, and they were like, oh, no, you won, it's over. I was like, what? No, because in my head, I still had this other loop to run, right? So first, I didn't understand. And then Harvey was there, and he didn't understand. Harvey was there with a lot of sleeping bag on him. I was like, wow, what's happening? And then I explained to me that Harvey, had to drop, unfortunately, when he went back to camp. So I didn't know, actually, that I was the only guy on that loop at that time.
It's amazing, man. The accomplishment alone it's bonkers for someone who has run 100 miles once and can like, wow, that's such a long distance. I can't fathom doubling that, and then you add another 50 plus miles on top of 46 miles on top of that over 59 hours. I mean, because what's different about this and some of these other big long races out there is that you don't have the luxury of taking a break. Like you can't say, between noon and 1, I'm gonna sleep. Every hour, at the top of every hour, you have to start your loop. So you're only gifted the amount of time that you're able to give yourself by finishing the 4.16667 mile loop early. So like, it's a constant run. It's a constant energy, and like takes focus and determination. So it's a huge accomplishment, Guillaume. I'm really, really stoked.
Yeah, I think you summarized it very well. That the major difficulty of that race is that it's relentless, right? You cannot have a bad loop. You cannot have a bad fall and say, oh, okay, I will just stop 20 minutes to regroup or anything. That's the major difficulty of that race, is that it's relentless. Even if on paper that seems very easy, 4 miles in less than an hour, everybody can do that, right? At least on paper. You have to think that it's relentless. It's 4 miles an hour, but every hour.
And there's also a great video that's out there that we've got to watch of Harvey coming in, and just to show you like some of the technicality and what's actually involved in it. But Harvey comes in with seconds, not even to spare, but at like 59:59, he crosses the line, falls to the ground, and then rolls back over the line because he basically has to finish the loop, go back to camp, and then start the next loop. So he actually comes in, slides across, finishes the loop with 1 second to spare, rolls back across the line, and then immediately starts the next loop. It's an incredible video because that's at hour what? 54? 55?
57. 57. That's hour 56, so we were starting then 57. Yeah, it was actually, incredible to witness. And the loop after, I guess he was under an adrenaline boost because of that. And I just had witnessed something crazy, right? And I was also, I mean, super happy. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And so the next loop we ran very fast. I mean, actually 41 or 42 minutes.
Yeah, it was one of your fastest laps.
Yeah, because also, I mean, my head was like, okay, I don't know how long it's going to last. And I actually ran everything on purpose. And he was just there grinding behind me on my heel, right? And so we ran everything, all the up. I was walking before, I was running, and he was running too. And so in my head, I was like, okay, if he let me go, he will walk everything, and it's going to be over for him. But he did not let go, and that was amazing. I mean, that was awesome to run that fast with him so late in the race. So that was a very great moment.
A lot of really cool things, stories and stuff like that have come out of this event. I am now curious. I'm just going to ask a couple of brief questions about this. The next stage for you between now and, since you've already said that you are going to be participating in the Barkley pending the application process and all that sort of thing, are you doing any sort of events between now? My voice cracked. I just went through puberty. Are you going to be doing any sort of events between now and Barkley, or are you focusing all of your training specifically on that event?
No, I will run Hurt 100 again this year. And I guess it's perfect for Barkley too, because you do have a lot of up and down and steep stuff. So, and I mean, the Hurt community too. So I'm going back to Hawaii in January 14 for Hurt. Then early March, I'm doing a low-key event called Bone Tempest, which is kind of a Barkley event. So it's a lot of orienteering, except you don't have to find books. You have to find bones in the forest. And then, yes, Barkley. And after that, I'm running probably Moab 240 next year. I mean, that's a Salomon event. And they asked me if I was willing to do it. I was like, yes, for sure. I mean, before I would have said no, but now that I know that I'm actually able to run that long, I'm like, yes, why not? And then I want to do big backyard again, of course.
Awesome. That's a pretty bonkers schedule. I'm like, oh yeah, Barkley and Hurt and Moab. That's insane. That's amazing. Guillaume, it's incredible to have you on the show, to talk to you and to just see how far you've come to. We've had you on the show before. For those of you who may be watching live, you can go back and watch some of the archive episodes with Guillaume, but he's an incredible trail runner who's done some really amazing things. And I'm really excited to see how far you've come, Guy, and to see how far you're going to go. Both Gary and I were glued to our phones. Gary is very excited that you'll be returning and going to the Barkley and stuff like that. So it's awesome, man. I'm so excited for you. So huge congratulations to Guillaume Calmettes.
Yay!
Woohoo! Thank you.
Yeah. Any last minute questions from the live audience before we move into the post show?
There's questions a little bit earlier, and I didn't pull them, but people are wondering what shoes you wore. Did you switch shoes for the road sections and the trail sections?
Yeah, so I actually came to the race with 3 pairs of shoes, 2 pairs for the trail, and there were the Salomon Sense Pro V2. Those are shoes I can run all day with, and also the new Sense Ride, Salomon Sense Rides. They have a bit more cushion and a bit more traction, and so it was very handy when it was after the rain, when the trail was a bit more muddier. And for the road, I did have the Sonic Pro, the Salomon Sonic Pro.
Awesome.
Which are road shoes.
We have a series of questions that we still didn't get to ask during the live show. We are going to be asking these of Guillaume in the post show. If you would like to join us for the post show, it's very easy to do. If you're a Patreon supporter, we'll see you there. If you are not, consider it. For $1 a month, literally the bottom tier is $1 a month, which is nothing. You can join all of our Patreon post shows with our guests and ask the questions right there, one-on-one. It's a lot of fun. So consider it. Go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. A big shout out to our top tier Ginger Runner Live sponsors, who are the executive producers, making sure that this happens week after week. Chris Lee, Brian Sands, and Rick Bjarnason. Thank you very, very much. And those who are watching live right now, thank you for taking the time out tonight. And Guillaume, remind people where they can find you online, because you do have a good social media presence. So where can people find you and follow you? Yeah,
it's very easy. Twitter, Instagram, are G Calmettes, GCALMETTES. Then Facebook, Guillaume Calmettes. I have a public profile, and if you ask me as a friend, I will add you. And on Strava, Guillaume Calmettes.
Do it. And definitely do the Strava side of things, just to look at his Big's Backyard Ultra Strava file, because it's huge. Actually, before we go into the post show, maybe let's talk about it in the post show. I want to find out how you actually tracked it, because you managed to create one large 246 mile file. So we'll talk in the post show a little bit about that. Thank you very much once again, everybody. Man, this beer really is doing a number on me. I haven't drank for 3.5 weeks. Maybe that's what happens. We'll see you guys in the post show, patreon.com/thegingerrunner, and get out there, train hard, race harder, and party the hardest. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
We'll see you guys next Monday for another Ginger Runner Live. Thanks, Guillaume.
Thanks, Guillaume.
Sure.
See you in the post show. Ginger Runner.